Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to complete a solo Theatre of Blood. I'll start off by explaining some general tips, then all the stats needed, the gear setups that I would recommend using, some useful plugins and settings, then I'll go over every single room in the right order, and at the end of the video with some extra information. I would not recommend attempting this if you've never even done TOB before. It would be very helpful if you have some experience with duos as well. Solo TOB also requires you to be very patient, so expect failure. It's also very expensive, as you will be using a lot of supplies, such as side charges, suites, and paying 100k per wipe. I'd imagine every successful solo TOB would cost about 1 mil GP, give or take. So even completing these is still fairly expensive, but you do make your money back as soon as you get a purple. So here are the stats requirements. I would say at least like high 90 combats, especially 99 strength, as you want to have the highest max hit possible. That is probably the most important part. Having like 90 plus attack and defense is not that important, as they don't matter that much. 96 prey is very important for redemption, as it then heals you the max amount it can heal. So having 96 versus 99, there's almost no difference. 80 plus range, you don't really need much higher range level, because all you need is a blowpipe really, and it's only really used for one room, so the higher the better of course, but 80 will probably do enough. 94 magic for Ice Barrage of course, you don't want to have any less than that. The more the better again, and hit points 90 plus, as redemption will then proc at 9 HP rather than 8. And this is really important when it comes to Xarpus. Obviously, if you can have as high stats as possible, that's obviously better. So this is the beginner setup that I would recommend pretty much everyone using. If you're aiming to get your first KC, this setup is pretty strong. Really nice for Maiden, nice for Nylo. The Fury is just an all-around nice amulet. I would definitely recommend using this setup before anything else if you're trying to get your first completion. You don't need to bring a Phoenix necklace, but it may be very helpful if you struggle with Nylo. So this setup is the current like advanced setup, I guess. This is the one that I pretty much use at all times, just doing casual runs and whatnot. It's just a lot faster. It's more expensive because you have a twisted bow, but you don't need a twisted bow. And the defender allows for more higher chance of hitting the specs, I guess, with the warhammer. And you also have the locator orb, which is used for eating the green ball on P3, which I will show later, obviously. I would definitely recommend using a rune light and using the plugins shown on the screen right now, as they all are just really helpful, and they're completely legal at all, so you won't get banned using them. They're obviously not necessary, but the most important one I would say is definitely the ground markers one, and probably the GPU one in my opinion. Everything else is just kind of quality of life, but it's not necessary. And I would also recommend maybe trying out resizable, as it'll just give you a bigger view of the arena and everything. But this is a personal preference thing, so obviously it's not needed. And game sounds also is very important. Alright, before you go in, make sure your quick prayers are set to Pray Magic and Piety, and then you want to Super Combat and Angler to full HP. And also use an Imbued Heart and a Stamina, because why not? Also, before you enter the room, make sure to drop like 4 brews, just so you have rooms in case you want to do takeoffs and all that. And then you run in, and the first thing you do is to warhammer spec her twice, and you want to make sure to have your Ellie on at the time she hits you. She hits on a 10 tick cycle, which means it's actually perfect with the scythe. Since the scythe hits every 5 ticks, you'll hit her twice, then you'll switch to your Ellie and a crossbow. The reason why you change to your crossbow is because she drains the highest stat you have equipped, which means when you equip the crossbow, she's going to drain your range level instead of your combat stats. And obviously the crossbow being a one-handed weapon allows you to equip the Ellie at the same time. You can look at your shield and see like a flicker animation. This means that the damage is going to be reduced by 25%. Her max hits 18, and it's increased by every single Nylo that actually goes in. It doesn't matter how much health they have when they go in, but if they just go in with any type of health, if they have 1 health, doesn't matter, they'll increase her max hit by about 2. I'll show a picture on the screen right now, and this picture pretty much just shows you what the maxes will be, depending on how many crabs that walk in. I'd recommend resetting if you have more than 4 crabs go in, as you'll just end up using way too much supplies. Before the crab spawn, and take off the helmet and the boots if you can, and then getting ready for the spawn. Sometimes they may spawn like a 1 and 2, which is really unfortunate. That only allows you to really freeze one of them, but that's okay. If you can, obviously try to stack them like this and try and heal on them if you can, but it's not necessary, but it does make the room a little bit easier. It also makes you lose a bit less supplies, but this is not necessary. You can do this room without doing this and still be fine. So a successful Maiden, you would use about 1 full super combat and 1 divine pot at the end of the fight. And about 3 brews at most, and maybe like 1 to 2 restores. If you use much more than that, I'd say reset, but if you're still practicing, I would recommend continuing regardless of how much supplies you use. There's also a method where you can use Redemption to heal off of her, but I wouldn't recommend doing that as it can be a bit tricky to learn, but definitely might be smart to look into. But I'm not going to cover it in this guide anyways, because you shouldn't really need to do it. So when it comes to Bloat, there's not really much that I need to cover because it's pretty much the same as any team size, it just takes longer. There's a method like here where you can just hit with a crossbow, but this only really speeds it up, but there's no point doing this as it's just risky, it just adds risk to it, but I really don't think there's much that I need to say about this room other than the fact that you should use about 1 divine super combat, and that's about it. So after defeating Bloat, there's a chest that you can buy some supplies from, and I'd recommend trying to buy like 2 or 3 sharks, and maybe 1 prey pot. I usually buy 1 prey pot just because I use it throughout the Nile room, but if you prayer flick, you don't really need to buy a prey pot, but I would definitely recommend buying 2 sharks at the very least, just to save yourself from the pillar damage. 100% worth it. And another note when it comes to the chest is that the way the points system worked there is it would always give you between 10 and 13 points regardless of how well you do. So if you get 10 points, that's just because you got unlucky and that's about it. But on average, you should expect to get about 23 points, which is plenty. So, now we come to the Nylocas room. This is actually arguably one of the harder rooms. Pretty much the goal here in the solo is to prioritize 1 pillar, and usually the pillar we prioritize is the northwest one. I would definitely recommend prioritizing that one, as it's the one that seems to take the least amount of damage. And I would also recommend marking the tiles on the floor like I have. The reason for that is because of a conga line setup that we do at the end of the waves, which saves a lot of damage at the end. The key to success in this room is just to make sure you are always at full health and that you kill the aggro's really quickly. The spawns in this room is actually not randomized, so every single time you do it, it's the same. So it's nice to try and remember all the spawns, especially the aggros, because those are the ones that you really want to kill. So, when you see 3 melee aggros come in, you want to make sure to kill the south one and get ready for the conga line setup. I usually just kill 2 meleeers because you have time to do it usually, but make sure you kill that south one, the aggro one that hits you. After you kill that one, equip your blowpipe, kill a couple of rangers so to make sure you don't actually delay the next spawn. That's actually really important. And then kill the 2 aggros, the small ranger and the small melee that attacks you. And then you don't want to kill the meleeer. You want to freeze him like this, step under, and then wait for the other ones to come close to you. Step in this exact spot right here, and then wait for the other Nihilus to appear. As soon as that one hits you, you run down to this spot, and you freeze this one, and now it's set up. Make sure to kill this aggro right here, and then you want to kill this mage aggro right here. So if it's set up properly, you save a truckload of damage taken, and this is actually almost necessary at this point, because this room is a pain in the ass if you don't get this correctly. But if you get this down correctly, then this room becomes significantly easier. Right after the conga line is set up, this is where you want to get ready to blood brush everything, as the pillar is just going to start falling. So, as soon as the pillar falls, get ready to shark brew if it's needed. If you're like 80 health, you don't really need to, but sometimes you do, and then run in a circle like this while you blood brush the piles. And then always pay attention to the pillar health and get ready to blood brush as soon as they fall. You'll get stunned for a second, which is really annoying, but just keep spam clicking and make sure you always move away from the Nihilus that are about to explode. This is why you have the sharks, just so you can shark brew in case you take a lot of damage. And then just keep doing this until all of them disappear, really. And that's pretty much it. When fighting the Niloking, there's a method that we use where you pretty much hit the boss twice as the boss hit you once. So 2 to 1. Since the boss hits every 10 or swaps his form every 10 game ticks, you can actually do 2 hits with any weapon, since all 3 of your weapons are actually 5 tick. The scythe, the crossbow, and the blood barrage. So the way to do it really is to hit 1 tick after he hits. then step under, and then wait exactly 5 game ticks and hit again. And then you're in cycle. As long as you keep hitting every single 5 game ticks and stepping under after the first hit after a form change, then you'll always do 2 hits to the boss doing 1 hit. And this is crucial because you take pretty much half damage doing this. 90% of the time when you do Nylocking, you shouldn't really expect to use any brews at all. As long as you start the fight with like 80-90 health, you usually just gain health with the Blood Barrage. So you don't really need to use any supplies there, maybe like 1 or 2 restore doses at the most. After Nylo, pick up the brews you dropped on the floor, and then get ready for Sotetseg. Sotetseg is a room where you don't use any supplies, just like Bloat. You can, if you're not that good at prayer flicking, you can use like 1 or 2 doses of restore, but usually you would want to have like 3 full resources when, or after Sotetseg is complete. Start the fight by warhammering it twice, and then make sure you're not in melee distance. It's fine at the start, because you're 99 health anyways. The bomb's going to do 70 damage, and the bomb will actually hit you every 10 mage hits. So it's actually beneficial for you to stay in melee distance and force him, or try and make him actually melee you a couple of times. Obviously, Divine Super Combat, and just hit the boss. Once you're low HP, you want to make sure to flinch him by hitting at the exact same time that the ball he shoots at you hits you. Pretty much put your prayer on, attack him at the exact same time that he does like an attack animation. You see him like bob his head. That's your timing to just hit the boss. Turn your prayer off immediately and then get back into the spot. And you actually use no prayer at all here. So to secret the bomb, you see the text come in the chat or you hear like a very loud sound. You wait for him to do 1 auto attack, and then as soon as you see the second auto attack start, that animation right there, that's your time to just click the suite and you will never fail. It always works, and it's that simple. Don't look at the animation of the ball, just look at the animation of the boss instead. It actually makes it significantly easier. Before triggering a mace, make sure you're at least 4 health, as the mace can actually do 3 damage every, I think it's like every like 6-7 game ticks, so make sure to suit up to like 4 health, and as soon as you teleport, spam squeeze to like 10 health, and then get ready to take a screenshot of the mace, and then just mark the mace slowly, and just take as much time as you want here, as there's no rush. You might see that I have marked the mace in like a weird pattern. The reason why I do this is because it's pretty much only for speeds, and you don't really have to worry about doing it like this. I use those markers right there for reference points. So what I do is I take a screenshot, and then I'll just look at the squares that I have marked, and I'll kind of like work out quickly where I need to go and all that. It's just significantly quicker, but there's no need to do it if you're just aiming to get a KC here and there, because this will pretty much save you about 1 minute to 2 minutes every single Sotetseg kill. That's all it does, it's just faster. So after Sotetseg, it's Xarpus. Xarpus is probably, in my opinion, the hardest rune to master and to learn, so this is really the biggest like brick wall when it comes to solo TOB. At the chest, I would recommend having 8 brews, 3 restores, 3 super combats, obviously one of them being a divine pot, and then the rest as many prayer pots as you can get. If you can get like 7 or 8, that's beautiful, but you can manage to get past this with even as few as like 4, and sometimes even less than that, but I would recommend at least getting like 6-7 if you can. Before you go into Xarpus, make sure you also change your quick prayers to Redemption plus Piety. Make sure to do P1 really well in Xarpus, as if you let it heal too much, this room actually becomes really difficult, so P1 is really important. I'd recommend marking Xarpus in the way that I have, so you know where to actually like click to walk back. And if you've never done the scythe walk here, I would definitely recommend learning it in teams before you even attempt to solo, because this part is really difficult. And you need to understand the way Xarpus works, and I'm pretty sure there's several YouTube videos explaining how to use Scythe on Xarpus, and I'm not gonna go too in depth on that. I'm just gonna go with the typical 4-tick cycle that you do with Scythe. You're not gonna do anything too special. If you hit both your warhammers on Xarpus in a solo, and you just do the Scythe walk properly like you would in the team, you will have enough prayer pots, assuming you have about 6 or 7, that will be enough to get past Xarpus. So when exhumes are done, put your Piety on and Divine Pot, and then hit Xarpus once with a Scythe and then the Warhammer twice right after. The way to get into a cycle here is just to make sure you want to be 2 tiles away at the time he starts an attack. And again, I'm not going to go too in depth on this. I would recommend watching another video that will probably explain it a lot better than I will, so I'm not going to go over it in this video. The way to do this in solo is pretty much just do a normal 4-tick cycle. Every now and then you might want to try and step one tile away where you can, just to try and paint as well as you can. This is something that comes with practice, and it's different every single time because it's random where the acid actually lands. So you don't really know how to. There's not one way to do this room. There's a billion different ways to do this room, and so pretty much this room is the hardest room to learn. There's so much you can do here, and you just have to learn your own way of doing it. There's not really like one perfect way to do it. Essentially, we all do it differently. When you're out of squares, get ready in position to step under. And the timing is exactly the same as stepping back, so as soon as he's about to attack, you step under, put your redemption on, and then just drink prayer pots every time you need to. The correct method is you walk under, you click the prayer pot, and then you attack him, and then you click the prayer after. And that's how you want to do it every time. And then sometimes, on certain ticks, you might want to double click the quick prayers because it actually turns it off instead. And once it screeches, obviously just stop attacking and then take your time, because the fight is essentially done. Before starting the Verzik fight, I would recommend marking every single tile that I have here, as that's the method we're going to be using, and these definitely are very, very essential for this method. So on P2 Verzik, you just hit 2 times with the spec at the start, and then 2 times with the scythe, and then you just auto-attack once with the staff while you're on the way back, and then you just scythe twice every single time. You don't have to use any prayer here, but you might want to keep mage prayer on in case you do mess up. P1 has a ton of leeway when it comes to pillars, as you have 6 pillars to use, and I don't think I've ever used more than 4 or 5 pillars ever, as long as you just do it properly. Even if you mess up a lot, it doesn't really matter. You have so much leeway in this room, so you can just take your time. Don't take too much time, of course. Make sure you do hit every now and then. I would also move my inventory so you have all the brews in the top left so you're ready to use them when you get to P3. And also put your sweets in a good spot so it's really easy and accessible on P2. So when P2 begins, get into position and Divine Pot up and put Piety on if you have enough prayer. If you don't have enough prayer, if you feel like you have too little, you want to have at least 3 restores for P3. So if you have less than that, then don't even use Piety here at all, just don't use any prayer. As this part is actually free, it only costs sweets, that's all it costs. And you just want to do pretty much the typical scythe walk here, I guess. Hit, step out, and then every 5 auto attacks she does, she will actually zap you, and you want to tick that. You don't have to tick the first one, assuming you're full health, but it will do about 50 damage. If you're less than 50 health, you want to tick it. And an easy way to actually know when to tick it is when you see your health bar disappear, that's when you know that's the 3rd hit she does. So after your health bar disappears, then get ready to tick it, as it will be the next, or not the next one, but the one after that. So as soon as you see your health bar disappear, just get ready to tick it. You don't have to count or anything. When the crabs spawn, they spawn about every 50 seconds or so. You want to click on the north tile, and then immediately after she attacks, run to the far east one, and then run back after the Nylocas explodes. And then just kill the purple and then repeat the cycle. This actually is really easy, and it shouldn't take you too long to learn. And obviously while you do this, you want to make sure to be prepared for the tick eats that happen, because they do happen while you're doing this as well. When she spawns a purple crab, it actually delays the tick eat by 1 hit. Once you get to about 38% health-ish, stop attacking the boss and move to the northwest tile marker. And what you want to do there is you want to walk in a circle around that square and just wait for the Nylocas to spawn. You don't want to hit the boss anymore, as that will actually trigger the red phase, which means it's game over. So to be safe, stop at like 38%-ish so you actually won't phase it. This method is much the same as the other one, just now you don't have to worry about attacking the boss at the same time or anything like that. And you're actually further away, which means the tick eat is actually a lot easier. So the way to tick eat it is you simply just have to tick it right before she's about to attack or right before it hits you. And you want to make sure to do this on the right tick. If you do it too early, you die. So make sure to do this on the right tick. It's about a little bit before the zap hits you. So you just have to learn that timing. It's pretty simple. After the Nylocas spawns, don't run to the left tile there immediately. You want to wait until she doesn't attack. That's your timing to click on the left tile. As soon as she doesn't attack, that's your timing to run there. And then move 1 north. Then hit the purple crab and then just go back into the spot and repeat the cycle until she dies. Every single purple does about 2.3 to 2.9% damage, so she will spawn about 14-15 crabs-ish before she actually ends up dying. So it will take about 15 minutes-ish. So this is actually kind of the boring part of it. And what you can do at the end here is you can actually, when she's about 2.4% health left, you can wait until the next tick eat and put your redemption on right after the crab spawns, so you know that you can actually proc redemption with the tick eat. This is not needed, but it's definitely worth it, as you get a free 25 health from doing it starting P3. I would definitely recommend doing this if you can. P3 is exactly the same as any team size. Again, it just takes longer. So the important thing about P3 is to make sure you always do the maximum amount of damage at all times. So it's very important that you learn how to do the 2-1-1-2 method properly here. Always try to do as much damage as you can, and obviously try not to get meleeed. There's not much tips I can really give here other than the basic make sure you do the correct amount of damage and all that, and I assume you know how to tank anyway, so I'm not going to go over that. Some other tips I can give for P3 is to try and drag her away from the web phase spot. So when she goes into web phase, you actually have time to eat like 5 or 6 sweets. The more sweets you can eat, obviously the better, because it just heals you up. So try and make it so you can actually eat sweets for pretty much for free, because you don't want to eat them in fight, because that actually delays your attacks. And I would recommend saving the Divine Pot for when you get to your first web phase. That's when you should probably use it. Another thing is, when you get to the first green ball, if you can try and like force yourself to be at about 75 or close to 75 to 6 health, then you can actually force redemption with the green ball, which is a nice little boost in health. It's not needed again, but I would definitely recommend trying to do that if you can. You can't always do that, because sometimes she doesn't hit you and she doesn't put you around that health, but if you can force a redemption, that's very, very helpful. Another method to deal with Green Bomb is actually sitting at low HP, having a Locator Orb from Dragon Slayer 2 in your inventory. If you actually put Redemption on, and you click the Locator Orb at the same game tick that the bomb hits you, or one game tick before the bomb hits you, you will actually just completely negate all damage from the bomb. And this actually saves you a little bit over a brew every single run. So for like later runs, it might be worthwhile bringing a Locator Orb to pretty much make the runs even more consistent. But it adds a risk to it. If you mess it up, you're dead immediately. But you shouldn't really need it for the first run anyways. But yeah, there you go. That's most of the, I think most of the basic and most important parts covered at least. There's probably a lot of things that I forgot to mention in the video, and I'm sorry if I did, but I tried remembering the most important things at least in the video. If you do end up completing a solo TAB, just send me a screenshot on Discord. I'll always reply. And I'll update you on the spreadsheet where we actually count all the people that's done solo TAB. If you want to check that out, I'll link it in the description. But yeah, thank you all for watching anyways though. Sorry that the guide obviously wouldn't be super in-depth, but I just wanted to make a quick one just to cover the basics, I guess. And make sure to check out my stream as well at twitch.tv/Kriskis, as I do a lot of solo TAB on stream, and if there's any questions you need me answered, just you know, ask me in the chat or in the comments on this video, and I will happily respond to anything. Thank you. See you guys later.